Hi y'all, this is Larry from Deep South Texas. Today we're going to talk about tomatoes. So I grew several new varieties of tomatoes this year that I have never grown before here. And I just want to go over them and review them with you and talk a little bit about each variety that I grew. So let's get started. So my first new variety of tomato is the San Marzano. I've never grown these before. I had a little bit of trouble with blossom end rot on one of the plants that I had. As you can see, the tomatoes are quite small, but they grow in bunches similar to cherry tomatoes. So there's a lot of them, but they're quite small. I did find one out in the garden this morning that was quite a bit bigger in size. So it maybe is my cultivation technique that is keeping them a little bit too small. So they're a little bit difficult at this size, a little bit time consuming to can. However, these are supposed to be great tasting tomatoes for tomato sauce. The next variety that I want to talk about are these Siberian Reds. This was my first year growing Siberian Reds as well. They are very prolific. They're small. They grow in bunches of about 3 or 4 tomatoes in a group. They came on early. I planted these from seed, and as I did with the San Marzanos, and the seedlings come up very healthy, very stronger seedling growth than any of the other tomatoes that I planted this year. They're beautifully shaped tomatoes, beautifully great tasting tomatoes. They were one of the first tomatoes to put on tomatoes for me. Currently it's the middle of May. They're no longer flowering, but they're still tomatoes ripening. I like these. I will definitely grow these again. The next tomato I want to talk about is the Roma tomato. I did not grow these from seed. We picked up a 6-pack at, I don't know, Home Depot or something like that. Very nice tomatoes. My very first ripening tomato was a Roma, and you saw me pick one of these, a larger variety of one. I mean, a larger example of one in one of my previous videos. These this plant was very prolific, and I'm real happy with these. They're fairly easy to work with when canning, and I will definitely grow these again next year. The next variety I want to talk about is Amish paste. So these, this was my first year growing Amish paste. I did try growing some last fall, but we just simply don't get enough sunlight in the fall to grow these. But they did fairly well for me. I tried training some of my plants to a single stem. They didn't do well at all. But the ones I let just grow naturally, they did good. They grow a very nice sized tomato for canning. It's fairly firm. It's easy to work with. I really like these, and will definitely be growing these again next year. And these are mortgage lifters. This is my second year for growing these. They produce very nice tomatoes. Some of them are a little bit misshapen. These are a couple of pretty nice examples. These are definitely not on the large size at all. Somewhat, medium size, I guess, for this particular variety. I like them. They sort of remind me of the shapes of tomatoes that tomatoes were when I was growing up. But they weren't very prolific for me, and they're a little bit disease prone for me, at least in my location. I got about 8 to 10 pretty nice tomatoes off of these plants, and I had 4 of them planted. But that's really not a good enough yield to, I don't think I'm going to grow these again next year. I may try 1 or 2 plants, but I'm happy with this tomato for sure, and but the yield wasn't very good, and I'm in a limited space, so that's important for me. The next tomato I have is Cherokee Purple. This is a pretty small example. We've eaten most of the larger ones that were ready. We have a few more coming on. Not a lot. This probably is the best tasting tomato that we grew this year. I would really, certainly I will grow this again next year. It is a little bit on the difficult side to can. It's the flesh doesn't come away real cleanly from the skin. So I won't use these for canning in the future, but certainly for slicers, and again, this is a very small example, but for slicers, they are great tomatoes, and I think probably the best tasting tomato that we grew this year. And then finally we have these Biltmore tomatoes. Now these were just, these are a hybrid tomato. I think the rest of the tomatoes I have are heirlooms, but this is a hybrid. And it is a beautifully shaped, perfect tomato. Almost every one of them looks just like this. It's hard to beat. It's hard to beat these for slicers. And I will certainly be growing these again next year. So these were my favorite varieties, or at least the ones that I could identify. We had a couple mishaps during the seedling transplanting process, and some tomatoes got mixed up at that time, and then we planted them out in sort of where we knew where everything was. But then we had a few tomatoes that within the first couple days just died, and so we had plenty of seedlings, so we just replanted them with other tomatoes. But the end result is the tomatoes got kind of mixed up out in the garden, and I have more varieties that I grew, but I don't remember what they are or where they were planted. But we had some beefsteaks out there for sure, and I planted some Abe Lincolns. I don't know if any of them made it, but these are the ones. These are all mostly, for the most part, all new tomatoes for me this year, and I'm pretty happy with most of them, and we'll probably be planting them again in 2019. So I hope you found this video interesting, and I'm wishing you the best of luck on your tomatoes for this year. I know that a lot of you are just getting started with your tomato plants, so good luck. Please, if you have any questions, please leave a comment, and appreciate it if you would like the video and subscribe. Thank you very much for viewing.